Was it a coincidence? It was Sunday afternoon, June 29th, 2014. It started the same as every Sunday, I suppose. I was watching some sports on TV in the evening when the phone rang. I must admit, I didn't jump out of the couch to answer it. But when I did, I was surprised to hear Tony's voice. Tony is a friend, although we don't meet frequently. We keep in touch. He usually calls when he needs to rent out one of our limousines, but that happens during business hours. The other event that perhaps brought us a little closer was that Tony bought the house I owned in Davie. This was the house where I lived and referred to on the Dreammaker trilogy, a 245,000 words account of the events that occurred to me and my family during this fantastic adventure. Tony lives in the house in Davie now with his mother, sister and his new wife, Lucia. I looked at the clock on the wall. It was nearly 7 p.m. "Hey, Arnaldo," he said. "How you doing, buddy?" "Just fine, Tony," I replied, trying to keep a distracted gaze on the TV screen. "And you, still enjoying your honeymoon?" "Yeah, no problem there," he answered. That was a strange answer, I thought. "Is there something wrong?" I asked. "Well," he hesitated, "I didn't want to call you about this, but I need to tell you about what's happening, Arnaldo." "What is this about, Tony? Are you sure you're okay?" By now, I had completely forgotten about the soccer game on TV and went to my den. I knew something was wrong. I could hear it in Tony's voice. Of Italian descent, he held strong Christian beliefs and wouldn't be easily swayed into games of the mind. However intrigued I was about the call, I began to worry. I plopped down in the desk chair and prepared myself to listen to his story. "So go ahead, Tony. What's going on?" "It's not about me. It's about my family. They're not okay," he said. "Is it your mum?" "Well, yes and no." "How do you mean? Is she sick?" "No, nothing like that, Arnaldo. But you see, she and my sister are really troubled with what's going on in the house." "What are you saying?" I asked, baffled. I had no clue. I couldn't begin to think of what could be going on with the house. It was a beautiful property, built on good foundations with a nice backyard, but I was just way off the mark. "Well, you're going to think that I've gone mad, or my family has." "All right, Tony. Why don't you start at the beginning? What's wrong with the house, and when did it start?" "There's nothing wrong with the house itself," Tony replied. "It's a great place, but it's what's going on in it that's too strange." "When did that strange thing started?" I asked, beginning to wonder if Tony had seen something dating back to the time I had that famous dream. "In December 2012, Mum and Louisa, you remember my sister, don't you?" "Sure, how is she?" "She's fine, but it's Mum I'm worried about." He paused. I didn't want to push him, but I was getting impatient to know what was going on. "Anyway, that's when it started. Mum and Louisa were getting very upset about this boy." "What boy? Have you been vandalized?" I was horrified at the thought. No, Arnaldo, it's the boy they saw running around the house on and off. They said it was a small boy who appears suddenly in one room, then runs to another and disappears." "And you're saying your mum and Louisa have seen this little guy off and on in the house. Did they see him anywhere else?" "No, but Mum said it was some sort of apparition, like a ghost, she said. And she was so upset with the whole thing that she actually moved out early last year. I found that a little exaggerated, but you see, she's from the old country and she couldn't stay in the same house where there was a ghost, she said." "But did you see the boy yourself?" I asked Tony. "Yes, I had a fleeting glance of him on a couple of occasions, and I can tell you, Arnaldo, I wasn't just waking up from a dream or anything like that. I saw a boy running toward the master bedroom." "And when was this?" "It was spring of 2013, if I recall, but it didn't stop. All through the year, Lucia and Louisa, of course, saw him running around and then disappearing. It began to be so bad that I had to call a priest in February, earlier this year, and have him bless the house." I was dumbfounded. I could not fathom why such an apparition would occur in my old house. I mean, it had been the seat of many events in my family's life, but we never had the death of a boy anywhere in or near the place, which could justify the appearance of such a young, ghostly figure. "Did you or your family see anyone else?" I asked. "Well, yes," he replied to my increased dismay. "You see, after the father blessed the house, I thought that it would be okay to do some renovations around the place, and that's when things started to get weird." "Weird? How?" "I think it has something to do with my removing the dream catchers my sister had left on some of the windows. At first, Lucia and I thought they were pretty, but then we needed to repaint all the rooms. We took them down." I rubbed my brow. A glimpse of what was happening began to take shape in my mind's eye, yet I could not believe it myself. "What happened next?" I asked. "Well, for the past 3 days, there's this old man with boots, jeans, plaid shirt, and a mangled cowboy hat showing up in the kitchen." "Did you see him?" "No, not me. My cousin was spending the day with us, and the old guy appeared to him. He came running out of their house while I was putting some food on the barbecue, and I thought he was going to wet his pants. My cousin, I mean. He was so scared. And you're saying this old man appeared in your kitchen more than once? Yeah, and that's when I decided to call you. You see, there are different people that appear and disappear as if they are part of a play. It's freaky strange, Arnaldo, and I wanted to ask you if anything like that happened to you or your family when you lived in the house. Nothing like that, no, Tony, but could you describe the people you or your family has seen in the past few months? There was a kid, as I told you, then there was that cowboy, and then I saw this guy dressed in full army gear, like the guys you see going to Afghanistan. He paused. The weirdest one was this old guy with a beard. He was dressed like a shepherd of biblical times. The last one I saw was this old woman. She went to the living room, sat down, opened a large book, and then vanished. He stopped. I was in shock. My blood ran cold. Literally, I shivered. Don't go any further, Tony, I blurted, the words getting caught in my throat. The people you've been describing are the same characters in my trilogy, the Dreammaker trilogy. This was the reason I decided to write the trilogy in the first place. You mean you saw these people before? Are they dead? No, Tony, that's not it. You see, I had a dream one night before I sold the house, and in the dream I saw the same people as you've seen in the house. They've come back to tell me something. I don't know what it could be, but I have to ask myself, was the dream not a dream? Is it possible that I have actually lived those events I recount throughout the trilogy? As I continued asking Tony questions about the people he or his family saw in the house, my thoughts were confirmed. The description of the character that appeared in the kitchen sounded exactly like Chippewa, the Dreammaker. The little boy running around the house was Dan. But at the age when Abulita used to interpret his dreams, it was as if Dan was stuck in time in that house, such as Dan is in the final chapter of Volume 3 of the trilogy. I was not sure what to suggest to Tony. Right now, a day after the phone call, all I can say is how much of a coincidence the two events are. The similarity between the Dreammaker trilogy and what is going on in the very same house where the dream took place is quite incredible, I must admit. One might ask oneself, was it really a coincidence? Or did I truly relive a past that was actually a real-life experience?